When I first booted up Dusk and started the first episode, it greeted me with a unique and disturbing sense of horror. The opening voice, the lighting and sound, and those chainsaw guys coming right at me.
Kill the intruder.
Much later in the game, we're crawling through rivers of blood, and while the game goes on to also include some more fantastical environments, it's those dark, horrific moments and those creepy villages that stand out the most to me. Director David Zemanski's latest game, Butcher's Creek, is like the scariest moments of Dusk all shoved into one short campaign. The entire thing takes place in the woods, in houses, mine shafts, underground pathways, and it's complemented by a constant shroud of darkness and a wonderfully effective VHS filter that makes the whole game feel like an old found footage film. Butcher's Creek has that Silent Hill way of doing darkness. I don't just mean, oh, Silent Hill is dark, so they're similar. No, if you really know Silent Hill, you know there's a certain way they handle darkness, where things get completely dark at these kinda unnatural distances, making spaces seem bigger than they are. I don't really know how to explain it, but if you know, you know. Moments like this in Butcher's Creek definitely remind me of the courtyard section in Silent Hill 2. Some of the most tense moments come from being out in the woods, only knowing to follow the lit windows of a house in the distance, having no idea what's out here or where you're really going. Terrifying sound effects interrupt the silence, with you never being sure if someone is over there in the darkness or if the game is just trying to scare you. It's a wonderfully immersive horror experience that instantly pulls you in and never lets go. And I do mean instantly. The very beginning has you walking in the woods towards a cabin, and you hear a car whiz past on the distant road behind you. This moment gave me chills before the game had even really started. I felt like I was there. It is not a game for children, as you come across many scenes of the aftermath of torture, which was being filmed. And while these beds belong to the people of the organization, seeing a bloody mattress and several mattresses around a murder scene with cameras, and a bloody shower also with a camera, certainly conjures up some very uncomfortable imagery. You'll find lots of letters between the workers here, and I found them quite entertaining to read. Half my playtime was actually just absorbing and thinking about the story. Where normally I'd want the story to stop interrupting the gameplay so much, Butcher's Creek is the opposite. I wanted the gameplay to be over so I could hear more story. Because the gameplay, if you're not speedrunning it, is not great. And I know Dusk isn't known for its AI, but your combat abilities are suited for it. There's a comparable amount of depth, and I've come to eventually see a lot of it. But if you're evaluating Butcher's Creek on how it presents itself, and the challenge and gameplay of that first campaign playthrough, it's a tad underwhelming. Despite how wonderfully fun and interesting it can go on to be if you learn the gameplay more deeply upon replay, which I've been doing almost every day since first playing it. It's just that you have to go looking for it yourself, and if you don't, you could end up finding the moment-to-moment action disappointing. But it's not that Butcher's Creek doesn't have its moments. I never got tired of all the different ways I could see these guys' heads come off. It is a melee-only game, which is fine, but the AI is atrocious. Like, shockingly dumb. Walking away from you, standing there doing nothing until they finally move, going in and out of rooms. They're idiotic, and sometimes they'll just make you laugh instead of scaring you. Your options are swinging your weapon at them in a single attack, kick, which we'll talk a little about in a minute, parry, which I'm not going to do on my first playthrough because I don't have to, and throw weapon, which is nice for when it's about to break, but also very useful as a final emergency attack option when you're out of stamina. The weapon durability feels perfect actually, it leads to good decision making in the moment. But the game is littered with weapons, it's kinda ridiculous. It's really easy to just find whatever you know you're comfortable with so you never have to experiment. Even on hard difficulty, if you just want to swing pipes and hammers, you can. I never needed to rely on a knife, and that's unfortunate. But I won't lie, finding a sledgehammer or axe was always a welcome surprise, as it makes quick work of the enemies. Though I don't know if it's a case of it being awesome, or me just being tired of fighting these guys and wanting to just get past them. Okay, I'll say it's both, because there's no way this isn't awesome. The combat itself is very basic, it's just swing and kick, which you can actually do at the same time, and that's funny. You can avoid enemy counterattacks completely by simply kicking them right after you swing. If your weapon hits, they'll fly away. If you're blocked, the kick will interrupt their attack. Your stamina is limited, so you'll need to back off and recharge, unless you want to parry to get an instant stamina recharge, and I don't. The fun found in combat is actually environmental experimentation.
Yes! Yes!
Throw a gas can to explode them, kick a box or barrel, kick them into a pit, kick them into a spinning saw, and of course the classic soap bar from DUSK, which gives a one-hit kill. The AI may be dumb and the combat super simple, but I was pretty amused by some of this. Butcher's Creek is a game where the first playthrough makes it seem shallow in terms of combat. But as you replay it and push yourself further, there are a lot of cool mechanics to discover. I've found a lot of fun ways to approach things, but I don't think that finding your own fun in the available mechanics as you start speedrunning is a good defense of the game's core issues, which largely center around enemy AI and enemy variation. Enemies all do the same thing. No matter what they look like, they just walk at you and swing their weapon. Their attacks are different speeds and do different damage, but that's it. I was playing on hard, which I fully recommend to any experienced horror player despite this game's recommendation, and taking hits would just bottom out my stamina, which was a fitting punishment for the gameplay of Butcher's Creek. It makes you play cautiously, cause if your stamina is gone and you can't run, you can die real fast. It's only in these situations that you'll die though, because even on hard, the game floods you with health. You can take photos of scenes of gore to heal yourself, and it's quite cool that if you kill someone and splatter their blood on the wall, you can shoot that too and it also heals you. The health mechanic is actually really interesting because you can paint the walls with one enemy's blood and heal huge amounts. And as I replay the game more and more, I'm very conscious of the directions of my attacks. If I can spray more blood, then I can afford to take more damage, which means I can move faster. I think there's a lot of potential for this in high-level play. However, I'm gonna take this moment to say I'm not entirely crazy about this game's attempts at humor. I think this could be a very effective, serious horror game involving a very serious topic. It feels like that's what it wants to be, but it bafflingly chooses to also present itself with corny video game language. Fresh blood, blood and gore, great. Brutal murder, excellent. And it's one thing to blatantly contradict the tone of your game for a laugh, I guess, but it's another thing entirely to end up in a place called Magic Fairy Castle with Christmas lights and scribbling and cut out stars and hearts on the walls for children, and then having gore right next to it that prompts a pop-up saying, "Ultimate perfect." I don't know, man. We all gotta draw the line somewhere, right? And for as much horror as I consume, and as dark as my humor can be, this just feels wrong. Anyway, on top of the camera mechanic, you come across developed pictures of murder scenes around the levels, and they heal you a bunch too. And these things are everywhere, in abundance. I swear you will never feel like you need to play carefully to guard your health bar because healing is almost always right around the corner, and there is no unlockable difficulty after finishing the game. You will die though in later sections when you get overwhelmed. Luckily, there are points to save your progress, and they cost 1 videotape. One of these videotapes from the rooms where they make all those films. And they have 2 other functions. They can be used to enter bonus rooms containing useful items, and they're used to increase your total health. The more tapes you have, the more health you have, which is reflected in a confusing red and black bar system that took me a little to understand. Basically just how much white bar you have, that's your health. It's a pretty cool spin on limited saves. You don't want to save too many times because then you'll have less health and you won't be able to open as many secret rooms. I like this system a lot. Oh, and the tapes connect to the story as well. And that's about it, really. It's a short game, only a few hours. Some basic combat, intriguing story, very good writing, amazing sound design, some genuine scares. It's worth your time, despite the disappointing AI and weapon health balance. It's a memorable experience. I've actually really come to enjoy it as a speedrunning game. There's a lot of cool strategy to figure out if you're gonna go as fast as possible. I even started using the parry. Maybe get it with that in mind. See ya.